My beloved child, listen carefully. This is not coming by chance. This moment was written before this year ever began. December 31st is not just a date on a calendar. It is a spiritual doorway. As the year closes, Archangel Michael stands with sword drawn, not in anger, but in authority, delivering a final message before you enter the new year. And Jesus says, this isn't small. The whole new year hinges on it. What you do in the next moments matters more than you think. There are seconds left in the spirit realm, even if the clock on the wall feels slow. Heaven is watching how you respond right now. This is why your heart feels stirred. This is why your spirit feels alert. Something is being decided, not by fear, not by chance, but by alignment. Hear this clearly. The enemy tried all year to delay you, distract you, drain you, and make you believe that nothing changed. But Archangel Michael says the delay was not denial. It was preparation. And now, as the old year breathes its final breath, a line is being drawn that cannot be erased. Jesus speaks gently but firmly. Do not treat this moment casually. Many are sleeping spiritually, scrolling past destiny, laughing as doors quietly close. But you were awakened for a reason. You are hearing this because heaven marked you as responsive. Archangel Michael is revealing something critical. The house you are stepping into in the new year is being decided by the posture you hold right now. And no, this is not only about physical houses. This is about spiritual covering, peace, provision, and authority. The atmosphere you choose in these final hours will echo for 12 months. Beloved, this is where many miss it. They wait for January 1st to change, but heaven measures transitions before midnight. What you release now, what you forgive now, what you surrender now, this is the seed that determines the harvest. Jesus says, if you carry old resentment across this threshold, it will demand rent in the new year. If you carry fear forward, it will try to speak louder than faith. But if you release, if you humble your heart, if you choose obedience over comfort, the new year opens differently for you. Archangel Michael is standing guard at the gate of time. He is not forcing anyone through. He is watching who comes prepared. This is not about perfection. It is about willingness. Heaven is not asking you to have all the answers, only to trust the one who does. My beloved child, there is urgency in the spirit, but not panic. This is holy urgency. The kind that says, pay attention. The kind that whispers, this is bigger than you realize. Jesus says, I am ready to do something suddenly. But sudden blessings land only where there is alignment. You are not late. You are not forgotten. But you must decide, right now, what voice you will follow into the new year. Archangel Michael reveals that some cycles were allowed to repeat this year to expose what you keep tolerating. Heaven is saying, enough. Not in embellishment, but in protection. What you allow will follow you. What you confront will bow. This final message is not for everyone. It is for the ones who sense that the next season will not look like the last. It is for those who feel a holy pressure in their chest, not anxiety, but anticipation. Something is shifting, and you are standing in the doorway of it. Jesus speaks again. Open now, not later, not tomorrow. Open your heart now. Lay it all down now, because the way you cross over matters. Archangel Michael declares that the next few moments are weighty. Heaven is listening to your prayers differently right now. Angels are recording decisions. Seeds are being counted, and grace is available in abundance. Do not rush past this. Do not numb this moment. This is not just the end of a year. It is the closing of an assignment and the opening of another. My beloved child, breathe. Center your heart. Choose favor. Choose obedience. Choose light. This is only the beginning of what heaven wants to reveal. Beloved soul, pause your rushing thoughts and listen deeper now, because what is unfolding is not surface level. This moment carries layers, and Archangel Michael is pulling back the veil slowly so your spirit can truly understand what is at stake. Many think the turning of a year is symbolic only, but in the spiritual realm, transitions are legal moments. They authorize movement, promotion, or resistance depending on what is settled before the crossing. Archangel Michael reveals that the final hours of this year are being weighed, not by your achievements, but by your obedience. Heaven is not asking how much you accomplished, but how much you trusted when you did not understand. Jesus says that faith shown in uncertainty is more powerful than confidence shown in comfort. This is why the pressure feels intense right now. It is not to crush you, but to clarify you. There are thoughts trying to distract you at this very moment, telling you to multitask, to half listen, to return later. That is not random. The enemy fears clarity more than noise. When clarity comes, cycles break, and Archangel Michael stands as a warrior of clarity, cutting confusion where it tries to attach itself to your mind. Jesus speaks gently into your spirit and says that what you agree with in these final moments becomes permission. If you agree with fear, fear feels authorized. If you agree with hope, hope gains ground. Agreement is not always spoken out loud. Sometimes it is chosen silently in the heart. That is why heaven is urging you to be intentional right now. Archangel Michael shows a vision of doors. Some are closing quietly without drama. Others are opening without noise. Many people miss divine movement because they wait for loud signs. But Jesus says his sheep recognize his voice, not his volume. Pay attention to what feels peaceful, not what feels urgent in the flesh. This year taught you lessons you did not ask for. It exposed patterns you thought were normal. It revealed relationships that could not follow you forward. None of that was wasted. Archangel Michael declares that nothing you endured was meaningless. Every tear carried information. Every delay carried instruction. And now, at the edge of the year, all of it is being gathered into wisdom. Jesus says the new year will respond to the identity you carry into it. If you cross over still seeing yourself as broken, you will misinterpret blessings as pressure. But if you cross over knowing you are being rebuilt, you will recognize challenges as confirmations. Identity determines interpretation. Archangel Michael warns that the greatest trap in transition is familiarity. Wanting the new while clinging to the old confuses the spirit. Heaven is asking for a clean crossing. Not a perfect one, but a sincere one. You do not need to have everything figured out. You only need to decide who you trust to lead you. Now hear this clearly. Some of you are standing at the edge of major change, but hesitation has kept you circling the same questions. Jesus says clarity follows obedience, not the other way around. If you wait to feel ready, you may delay what heaven already approved. This is not recklessness. This is faith anchored in relationship. Archangel Michael is also revealing that your home atmosphere matters as the year closes. Words spoken, thoughts entertained, emotions fed, all of these shape spiritual climate. You are not powerless here. You have authority to choose peace. You have authority to shut down fear-based conversations. You have authority to worship even when emotions resist. Jesus says that gratitude in transition unlocks protection. When you thank God for what did not break you, heaven strengthens what remains. This is why praise feels difficult right now for some of you. Resistance often shows up right before release. And beloved, this is where I speak directly to you as a creator of this space. If this message is stirring something in you, if it feels like confirmation, do not keep it to yourself. Like this message so it reaches those who need it. Share it with someone who feels uncertain about the coming year. Leave a comment declaring what you are choosing to release and what you are choosing to carry forward. And if you have not yet subscribed, align yourself with this channel so these messages continue to reach you when you need them most. Your engagement is not small. It helps this word travel further than we can see. Archangel Michael says community matters in transition. Isolation weakens discernment. Connection sharpens it. That is why you were not meant to walk into the new year alone. Jesus speaks again and says the next revelation will explain why certain prayers were delayed and why the timing was intentional. Hold on, because what is coming next will connect pieces you have been carrying all year. Breathe. Stay present. This is where it begins to make sense. Chosen one, what you are feeling right now is not emotional overflow. It is recognition. Your spirit recognizes truth when it hears it, and that is why something inside you is settling even as the message grows heavier. Archangel Michael is stepping closer now, not to intimidate, but to fortify. He is revealing why the pressure increased just before the year's end and why this moment feels so concentrated. There are prayers you prayed months ago that seem to echo back unanswered. You asked, you waited, you trusted, and still nothing moved. Jesus says those prayers were not ignored. They were protected. Some answers could not arrive earlier because they would have been mishandled by the version of you that existed back then. Delay was mercy. Timing was strategy. Archangel Michael shows that certain doors required internal alignment before external movement. If they had opened too soon, fear would have entered with you. Doubt would have negotiated space. Old patterns would have followed. Heaven waited until your discernment matured. That is why the last season felt like stretching without visible reward. Growth was happening beneath the surface. Jesus speaks directly now and says that the next year is not about survival. It is about stewardship. What he is about to place in your hands requires a different posture. You are not crossing over empty-handed. You are crossing over entrusted. And entrusted people must be clear, not confused. Archangel Michael reveals that some of the battles you fought this year were not meant to be won, only recognized. They showed you what drains you, what distracts you, and what does not deserve access anymore. Discernment is a weapon, and you sharpened it through experience. That is why the enemy is quieter now. He has fewer arguments left. Jesus says the new year will expose motives quickly. What used to hide will surface faster. This is both a warning and a promise. You will no longer waste energy guessing intentions. Light will do the work for you. But you must choose to walk in truth, even when it is uncomfortable. Archangel Michael is also revealing something deeply personal for some listening. There is a decision you have been postponing because you wanted one more sign. Heaven says the confirmation has already been given, just not in the form you expected. Peace is the sign. Consistent peace, not emotional excitement. Learn to trust it. As the year closes, heaven is not demanding dramatic gestures. It is asking for honest ones. Release what you know is over. Forgive what you know you carried too long. Surrender control where you were never meant to lead. These are quiet acts, but they are powerful. Jesus says that when you choose obedience in private, he defends you in public. What you lay down now will never rise against you later. This is the exchange taking place at the threshold of the year. Archangel Michael declares that the next season will reward clarity. Confusion will no longer linger. Answers will come quicker because your spirit is aligned. But this alignment must be sealed intentionally. Speak life. Choose gratitude. Declare trust even if your voice shakes. This moment is sacred. Do not rush it. Do not treat it as background noise. Heaven is closer than you think right now. Type "I step into alignment" in the comments if this message is confirming what your spirit already knows. Blessing code 444 has just been released over this transition. And hear this final invitation flowing straight from this word. As this message has poured into you, I want you to know that it did not arrive by accident. I was instructed to release this so that light could reach those standing at the edge of their own transition. When you give through Super Thanks, membership, or PayPal, you are not supporting a channel. You are sowing into souls that are about to cross from confusion into clarity. Scripture declares that when you sow, you activate harvest, and I speak that promise personally over you now. This is me, inviting you to act in obedience as the door is open and the moment is ripe. Do not delay what heaven is stirring. As you give, I release blessing over your house, your year, and your decisions. Step forward now and obey. The links are waiting in the description. Beloved one, now that the seal hath been placed on what was hidden, heaven begins to speak about what is ahead. This is the phase where understanding deepens not suddenly but steadily. Archangel Michael is not rushing you forward. He is steadying your steps so that when movement comes, you will not stumble. The next season will not respond well to haste. It will respond to discernment. There is something important you must understand about the new year you are about to enter. It will not announce itself loudly. It will not come with instant fireworks or dramatic shifts on day one. Jesus says this year will reveal itself through patterns, not moments. Through consistency, not chaos. And many will miss it because they are looking for a sign instead of recognizing a rhythm. Archangel Michael reveals that heaven has already rearranged certain things behind the scenes. Conversations you never heard, protections you never saw, delays that quietly redirected danger away from you. You thought nothing was happening, but in truth, much was happening where you could not see. This is why frustration tried to speak louder than faith toward the end of this year. The enemy wanted you to doubt the unseen work. Jesus says you are entering a season where discernment will matter more than information. You will hear many voices. Opinions will multiply. Advice will come from all directions. But clarity will not come from volume. It will come from alignment. You must learn to pause before reacting, to listen before responding. The pace of heaven is intentional. Archangel Michael warns that the greatest test ahead is subtle compromise. Not obvious dissipation, but small agreements that see you harmless. Overcommitting when you should rest. Explaining yourself when silence would protect you. Holding space for people who have already shown you they cannot honor it. These are the quiet leaks that drain authority. Jesus speaks firmly now and says that boundaries are not rejection. They are stewardship. What he is entrusting to you in the new year requires protection. Not everyone needs access. Not every opinion deserves attention. You are allowed to guard what God is growing. There is also a healing process continuing beneath the surface. Some wounds closed, but scars remain. Heaven is not rushing this. Jesus says scars are not shame. They are evidence of survival. But you must not allow them to define your decisions. The new year is not meant to be shaped by old pain, but informed by past wisdom. Archangel Michael shows a picture of you standing in a place of greater stability than before. Not because circumstances are perfect, but because your foundation is stronger. you will notice that things that once triggered you no longer have the same power. This is growth. Honor it. Do not minimize how far you have come. There will be moments early in the year when you are tempted to question whether anything truly changed. Familiar challenges may try to resurface. Jesus says this is not regression, it is confirmation. The same battles appearing with less power prove that you have changed, even if the environment has not fully caught up yet. Archangel Michael also reveals that some connections will naturally fall away without conflict. Do not chase explanations. Do not reopen doors for closure. Silence can be a form of grace. Trust that what exits is making room for what fits the new alignment. This next season will reward those who listen deeply. Quick decisions made from emotion will cost more than you expect. But choices made from prayer and peace will multiply impact. Jesus says obedience will feel quieter but produce greater fruit. Beloved, do not underestimate the power of routine faithfulness. Showing up, praying even when it feels dry, choosing integrity when no one is watching. These are the habits that shape the year more than any single breakthrough moment. Archangel Michael declares that protection surrounds you as you step forward. You are not walking uncovered. You are not stepping into the unknown alone. Heaven has gone ahead of you, and grace will meet you daily, not all at once. Rest your spirit here for a moment. Let this settle. What comes next will speak about the assignments that will require courage and how to recognize them when they appear. Beloved child, now we move into a deeper unveiling, because what comes next is not just about understanding the season, but recognizing your assignment within it. Archangel Michael is not only guarding the doorway of the new year, he is also pointing toward the path you are meant to walk once you cross. This is where many hesitate, not because they lack faith, but because responsibility feels heavier than desire. Jesus says something important here. The reason you feel both excitement and weight when you think about the future is because calling always carries both promise and cost. If it were light without meaning, it would not be yours. If it were heavy without grace, heaven would not assign it to you. What you are sensing is significance. Archangel Michael reveals that the new year will present you with moments that look ordinary on the surface but are loaded with spiritual consequence. A conversation you almost avoid. An opportunity that seems inconvenient. A decision that asks for courage rather than comfort. These moments will not announce themselves as destiny. They will ask quietly, will you obey even when it is not dramatic? Jesus says many people miss their assignment because they expect it to look larger than life. But heaven often wraps purpose in humility so pride cannot hijack it. You are not being called to impress. You are being called to be faithful. And faithfulness, when multiplied over time, produces impact far beyond what applause ever could. Archangel Michael also warns that comparison will try to speak louder in the early months of the year. You will see others moving faster, receiving attention, celebrating milestones. Do not let that disturb you. Speed does not equal alignment. Jesus says delay in visibility often protects depth. What is being built in you must last, not just shine. There is a refining that continues even as blessings begin to show. Some habits will be challenged. Some comforts will be questioned. This is not punishment. This is preparation. Archangel Michael says heaven refines what it plans to rely on. Weak structures collapse under weight, but refined ones carry influence without breaking. Jesus speaks directly now and says that obedience in the next season will sometimes require saying no to good things in order to say yes to God things. This is where discernment becomes essential. Not every open door is yours to walk through. Some are tests of focus, not invitations of destiny. You may notice a growing intolerance for chaos, noise, and superficial connection. This is not arrogance. It is alignment. Your spirit is becoming more sensitive, and sensitivity requires boundaries. Archangel Michael encourages you to honor this shift rather than resist it. What drains you is not meant to lead you. There is also a strengthening of your inner voice happening. Where you once doubted your discernment, you will begin to trust it more. This does not mean you will never question again, but it does mean you will recover clarity faster. Jesus says maturity is not the absence of doubt, but the ability to return to truth quickly. Archangel Michael shows that some of you will be asked to step into leadership in unexpected ways. Not necessarily a title, but influence. People will watch how you respond under pressure, how you speak when disappointed, how you treat others when you are not rewarded. Leadership is revealed long before it is recognized. Do not underestimate the spiritual authority that comes from consistency. Showing up when you are tired, choosing kindness when misunderstood, speaking truth without needing control. These are the marks heaven honors. Jesus says the new year will not be about proving yourself. It will be about positioning yourself. When you are positioned correctly, favor finds you without striving. What is meant for you will recognize you. Archangel Michael also brings reassurance. You are not expected to do everything at once. Grace is released daily, not annually. You do not need to carry the entire year on your shoulders tonight. Focus on obedience today, and tomorrow will meet you with fresh provision. There will be moments when old fears try to resurface, whispering that you will fail or repeat past mistakes. Do not argue with them. Simply do not agree. Agreement gives power. Silence stars it. Jesus says peace is your confirmation. As you listen now, something in you is settling again. That is not coincidence. That is alignment deepening. The more aligned you become, the clearer your steps will feel, even when the path is unfamiliar. Archangel Michael declares that what is ahead will require courage, but it will also bring joy. Not shallow happiness, but the deep satisfaction of walking in truth. You are not behind. You are being positioned. Rest here for a moment. Let this assignment awareness anchor in your spirit. What comes next will speak about resistance, opposition, and why it does not mean you are off course. My beloved child, now you must understand something crucial before you step further. Resistance does not mean rejection. Opposition does not mean you missed God. In fact, Archangel Michael is revealing that resistance often increases precisely because alignment has been achieved. When direction becomes clear, interference tries to become louder. This is not a sign to retreat. It is confirmation that movement has begun. Jesus says many believers misunderstand spiritual resistance. They assume ease means approval and difficulty means error. But heaven often allows friction to strengthen focus. Muscles do not grow without resistance. Faith does not mature without testing. The battles ahead are not designed to stop you. They are designed to show you what no longer has power over you. Archangel Michael reveals that the next season will expose where you have been underestimating yourself. You survived things that were meant to break you, yet you still question whether you are strong enough for what is coming. Jesus says strength is not loud confidence. It is quiet endurance. And you have more of it than you realize. There will be moments when progress feels slower than expected. Do not panic. Slow does not mean stagnant. Heaven often slows the pace to protect precision. Rushed obedience leads to regret, but measured obedience builds legacy. Trust the timing even when your emotions want speed. Archangel Michael also warns that old voices may attempt to re-enter your life, offering familiarity disguised as concern. They may question your decisions, your boundaries, your changes. Do not confuse familiarity with wisdom. Jesus says growth will always feel uncomfortable to those who benefited from your old version. You are not required to explain your obedience to people who were never assigned to carry it with you. Silence is sometimes your strongest defense. Let fruit speak. Let consistency answer. Let peace validate. This season will test your commitment to inner alignment. External validation will fluctuate. Some days you will feel affirmed, other days unseen. Do not let your sense of worth rise and fall with response. Jesus says obedience that depends on applause will collapse when applause fades. Archangel Michael declares that discernment will sharpen even more through contrast. You will quickly recognize what drains you versus what strengthens you. Pay attention to that. Your energy is a signal. Where peace remains, grace is present. Where confusion lingers, permission may be missing. There will also be an invitation to deepen discipline. Not religious performance, but spiritual consistency. Prayer that is not rushed. Scripture that is not skimmed. Reflection that is not avoided. These quiet practices will anchor you when pressure increases. Jesus says the storms ahead are not meant to drown you. They are meant to reveal that you can stand without panic. You are no longer who you were when previous storms hit. You had grown. Honor that growth. And I'll hear this carefully. If this message is strengthening you, grounding you, clarifying things you have been sensing, do not keep this encounter private. Like this message so it can reach others standing in similar tension. Share it with someone who feels discouraged by resistance. Comment with what you are choosing to trust God within this next season. And if you have not yet subscribed, align yourself with this channel so these words continue to reach you at the right moments. Your engagement is not random. It is part of how this message moves. Archangel Michael emphasizes that community reinforces courage. Isolation magnifies fear, but shared faith multiplies strength. You are not meant to walk this out alone. Jesus also reminds you that obedience does not always feel powerful in the moment. Sometimes it feels small, unnoticed, even boring. But heaven measures obedience by faithfulness, not feelings. What you keep choosing quietly is building something loudly in the spirit. There will be moments when you want to quit simply because you are tired. Rest, but do not retreat. Rest restores vision. Retreat abandons it. Know the difference. Archangel Michael stands ready to guard you as you pause, but he will not bless withdrawal from assignment. Before you move on, let this settle. Resistance is not your enemy. It is your indicator. It shows you where growth is happening, where authority is forming, where movement is real. Hold on, because what is coming next will explain why some battles repeat and how to finally break their pattern permanently. Beloved one, now we come to a truth that many avoid, but heaven insists you understand. Repeated battles are not always signs of spiritual failure. Often, they are invitations to deeper authority. Archangel Michael is revealing that what keeps resurfacing in your life is not there to torment you, but to teach you where agreement still exists. Patterns do not persist without permission. Jesus says something very clear here. What you tolerate, you empower. What you confront with truth, you disarm. Many cycles remain because they were prayed about but never challenged with obedience. Prayer opens the door, but action seals the change. This is where maturity begins to separate from desire. Archangel Michael shows that some of the struggles you faced this year came back repeatedly because they were trying to expose the same root from different angles. Fear dressed as caution. Control disguised as responsibility. Loyalty that crossed into self-betrayal. Heaven was not punishing you. It was inviting you to see clearly. Jesus says the next season will not allow you to remain unaware. What you once overlooked will become obvious. What you once excused will become uncomfortable. This is not condemnation. This is clarity. And clarity is kindness when it comes from God. There is a reason the same lesson knocks again and again. It is waiting for a different response. Archangel Michael declares that when the response changes, the cycle breaks. Not because the enemy suddenly becomes weaker, but because authority is finally exercised. You are stepping into a season where you will be asked to respond rather than react. Reaction comes from old wounds. Response comes from healed perspective. Jesus says healing does not erase memory, but it changes interpretation. A once triggered fear will now trigger discernment. Some of you are realizing that certain battles followed you because they were familiar, not because they were powerful. Familiarity creates false safety, but heaven is breaking that illusion now. What once felt normal will no longer feel acceptable. This discomfort is holy. Archangel Michael is also revealing that generational patterns are being confronted in this season. Not just personal habits, but inherited mindsets. Ways of coping, avoiding, or overfunctioning that were modeled long before you were aware. Jesus says you were chosen to be a breaker, not a carrier. This is why the resistance felt heavier than expected. You were not only fighting for yourself, you were interrupting a flow that expected continuation. When patterns break, the spirit realm responds. But do not fear this. Heaven backs what it initiates. Jesus speaks now with assurance. You are not required to fix everything at once, but you are required to stop pretending you do not see it. Awareness is the beginning of authority. Once light enters, darkness loses leverage. Archangel Michael encourages you to pay attention to emotional patterns as well. Where do you shut down? Where do you over-explain? Where do you give more than ask? These are clues, not accusations. Clues that point toward places where healing wants to deepen. The new year will bring opportunities that test these very areas. Not to trap you, but to confirm growth. You will notice yourself responding differently. Choosing silence instead of defense. Choosing rest instead of control. Choosing truth instead of comfort. These moments matter more than you realize. Jesus says freedom is not dramatic. It is subtle consistency. It is waking up one day and realizing something no longer has the same grip. It is choosing differently without needing to announce it. It is peace without explanation. Archangel Michael declares that some of the things you thought were enemies were actually mirrors. They reflected what needed to change within you. Once the reflection is acknowledged, the mirror loses purpose. The conflict fades. Do not be discouraged if a familiar challenge appears again briefly. Its reappearance does not mean failure. It means you are being given the opportunity to respond from a higher place. This time, it will not have the same ending. Jesus reminds you that authority grows through use. Every time you choose truth over fear, alignment over approval, obedience over delay, authority strengthens. The enemy does not retreat because you feel confident. He retreats because you stop agreeing. Archangel Michael stands beside you now, not with warning, but with affirmation. You are not stuck. You are not repeating blindly. You are becoming aware. And awareness changes everything. Let this sink deep. The next revelation will speak about provision, timing, and why heaven sometimes withholds just long enough to protect what is coming. My beloved child, now heaven turns your attention to provision, because misunderstanding this area has caused unnecessary fear for many. Archangel Michael is standing firm here, making something very clear. Lack has never been your future, but impatience has often clouded your vision. What God withholds temporarily is not denial, it is protection. Timing guards what provision cannot. Jesus says there were moments this year when you wondered if obedience was costing you too much. You did the right thing, yet resources felt tight. You chose integrity, yet doors seemed slow to open. Heaven saw every one of those moments. Provision was not absent, it was being aligned. If it had arrived earlier, it would have attached to the wrong season, the wrong people, with the wrong motives. Archangel Michael reveals that the new year will bring provision that matches responsibility. Not excess without purpose, but supply with assignment. God does not pour oil where there is no vessel prepared to carry it. You are being shaped into that vessel now. Capacity is increasing, even if finances, energy, or clarity felt stretched. Jesus speaks gently and says that scarcity thinking must not cross over with you. Fear of not having enough will distort decisions meant to be led by faith. You are not stepping into a year of survival. You are stepping into a year of stewardship. And stewardship requires trust. There will be moments when provision arrives in unexpected forms. Not always money first, but favor, timing, access, wisdom. Pay attention. Heaven often sends what you need before what you want. Discernment will help you recognize the gift when it comes disguised. Archangel Michael also shows that some delays in provision were directly connected to protection from distraction. And certain resources arrived earlier. They would have pulled you away from growth you needed. God was not withholding to punish you. He was withholding to prepare you. Jesus says gratitude unlocks flow. Complaining constricts it. This is not about pretending things are easy. It is about acknowledging that God hath been faithful even in difficulty. Gratitude aligns your heart with heaven's rhythm. As the year turns, you may notice opportunities begin to line up more smoothly. Conversations connect. Doors open without forcing. This is not coincidence. This is alignment bearing fruit. But you must remain patient. Rushing now would undo careful preparation. Archangel Michael declares that anxiety about provision will not lead you forward. Trust will. You do not need to see the full supply to take the next step. You only need enough light for today. Tomorrow's provision will meet tomorrow's obedience. Jesus also warns that comparison can distort provision. Looking at what others do will make you undervalue what God is doing uniquely in you. Your timeline is intentional. Your supply is specific. Stay in your lane. Now hear this clearly. If this word about provision and timing is resonating, do not disconnect now. This is where many lose momentum. Before you move on, take a moment to engage. Like this message so it can reach others wrestling with trust. Share it with someone who feels anxious about the new year. Comment with a declaration of trust over your provision. And if you have not subscribed yet, do so now so you remain connected to these messages as they continue to unfold. Stay with this, because what comes next ties everything together. Archangel Michael says heaven honors faith expressed through action, not fear expressed through delay. You are being invited to step forward, not backward. Type "I trust God's timing" in the comments if you are choosing faith over fear right now. Blessing code 818 has just been activated over your provision and alignment. And as this word on provision settles, I speak directly to you about something sacred. This message is reaching people at critical crossroads because obedience made it possible. I am inviting you, personally, to become part of this flow. When you give through Super Thanks, membership, or PayPal, you are sowing seed into ground where confused hearts are finding direction. The word says that when seed is released, harvest follows, and I declare that promise alive over you now. This is not a donation. This is an act of obedience responding to what God is doing in this hour. As you give, I bless your resources, your timing, and your open doors. Do it now, while the door is open. The links are waiting in the description. Beloved one, now the focus shifts inward again, because before heaven accelerates anything externally, it always stabilizes the inner world. Archangel Michael is drawing your attention to your mind, your emotions, and your spiritual posture as you step deeper into the new season. What you carry internally will either support or sabotage what God releases externally. Jesus says many people ask for change but resist transformation. Change alters circumstances. Transformation alters perception. And perception determines how you steward what you receive. This is why the new year will feel different for you. Not because everything around you suddenly becomes easy, but because your inner responses are no longer controlled by the same triggers. Archangel Michael reveals that emotional patterns are being recalibrated. Where you once reacted quickly, you will now pause. Where you once assumed the worst, you will now wait for clarity. This does not mean you become passive. It means you become intentional. Intentional people are not easily manipulated. There is also a healing of self-talk happening. Some of the harshest voices you heard this year did not come from others. I came from within. Jesus says the way you speak to yourself matters more than you realize. Agreement with accusation weakens authority. Agreement with truth strengthens it. In the new season, you will notice a growing discomfort with self-criticism. That is not pride leaving. It is condemnation losing access. You are learning to correct yourself without condemning yourself. This is maturity. Shame produces hiding. Conviction produces growth. Archangel Michael shows that your thoughts are becoming more disciplined. Not perfect, but more aware. You will catch negative spirals earlier. You will interrupt them sooner. This is spiritual authority in practice. The enemy does not fear emotion, he fears awareness. Awareness dismantles lies quickly. Jesus speaks now and says rest will become a spiritual weapon for you. Not laziness, but intentional rest. Choosing to stop striving. Choosing to trust God with what you cannot control. Many breakthroughs are delayed not because of disobedience, but because exhaustion clouds discernment. Heaven is also inviting you to slow your pace without losing momentum. You do not need to respond to everything immediately. Urgency does not always equal importance. Archangel Michael warns that right decisions in the new year could create unnecessary complications. Peace is your guide. You may also feel a stronger pull toward simplicity. Fewer distractions. Clear priorities. Less tolerance for noise. This is not withdrawal. This is refinement. When your inner world becomes quieter, God's voice becomes clearer. Jesus says the next season will require emotional honesty. Not with everyone, but with God. You do not need to pretend strength when you feel tired. Heaven responds to truth, not performance. Vulnerability before God creates intimacy, and intimacy strengthens obedience. Archangel Michael reveals that unresolved emotions from the past year are being brought to the surface gently, not to overwhelm you, but to be released. Do not push them away. Acknowledge them. Pray through them. Let them move through instead of settling in. There will be moments when you realize you are no longer reacting the way you used to. Old triggers lose intensity. Old fears lose volume. This is evidence of healing, even if circumstances have not fully changed yet. Inner freedom often precedes external change. Jesus also says forgiveness will remain a recurring theme. Not dramatic forgiveness moments, but ongoing ones. releasing expectations, letting go of how you thought things should have gone. Forgiveness is not agreement with what happened. It is refusal to carry its weight forward. Archangel Michael declares that emotional maturity will protect you from unnecessary battles. You will learn which hills are worth standing on and which ones are not worth your energy. Not every disagreement requires engagement. Not every misunderstanding requires correction. As this inner strengthening continues, you will feel more anchored, less reactive, more grounded. Even when challenges arise, you will not feel as scattered as before. This stability is intentional. It is preparation for increased responsibility. Jesus says the peace you are developing now will become a testimony later. Others will notice how you remain steady when pressure comes. That steadiness will open doors for influence without striving. Let this truth settle deeply. The work God is doing inside you is not secondary to what He plans to do through you. It is foundational. Hold this posture. What comes next will speak about relationships, alignment with people, and why some connections are about to shift more clearly than ever. My beloved child, now heaven turns the light toward relationships, because alignment with people will determine how smoothly you walk out what God has prepared. Archangel Michael is standing watch here, because relational shifts are often misunderstood. When people change positions in your life, it does not always mean conflict is coming. Sometimes it means clarity has arrived. Jesus says the new year will bring sharper discernment about who is meant to walk closely with you and who is meant to remain at a distance. Distance is not dishonor. Separation is not rejection. It is often protection. God rearranges relationships not to punish you, but to preserve purpose. Archangel Michael reveals that some connections were allowed to remain longer than they should have because you needed to learn something through them. Those lessons are now complete. What once felt familiar will no longer feel safe. What once felt exciting may now feel draining. This is not coldness. This is maturity. You may notice that conversations begin to change. Topics that once bonded you no longer interest you. Values that once aligned begin to diverge. Do not force continuity where growth is demanding transition. Jesus says you cannot carry new wine in old wineskins without loss. There will also be new connections forming quietly. Not loud entrances, not dramatic introductions, but gentle alignments. People who speak life, not confusion. People who respect boundaries rather than test them. Pay attention to who brings peace into the room. Peace is a signature of heaven. Archangel Michael warns against the temptation to over-explain your changes. You are not required to justify obedience. Growth does not need permission. When God shifts you, not everyone will understand, and that is okay. Understanding is not a prerequisite for obedience. Jesus says relational pruning is painful, but necessary. Vines that grow unchecked become heavy and unfruitful. Pruning feels like loss, but it creates space for healthier fruit. What is being removed now is making room for stronger connection later. Some of you will experience reconciliation where you did not expect it. Not with everyone, but with those who are willing to meet you in truth. Pride will not survive this season. Humility will. Where humility is mutual, restoration becomes possible. Archangel Michael also reveals that discernment will keep you from absorbing emotional weight that does not belong to you. You are not called to fix everyone. Compassion does not require self-sacrifice. Jesus healed many, but He also withdrew often. Follow His example. In the new year, relational peace will become more important to you than relational approval. This shift is healthy. Approval seeking leads to compromise. Peacekeeping leads to clarity. Choose peace even when it costs familiarity. Now hear this clearly. If this message about relationships is opening your eyes, do not disengage. This is a turning point for many listening. Like this message, so others who are confused about relational shifts can find clarity. Share it with someone who feels guilty for outgrowing certain connections. Leave a comment declaring what kind of relationships you are choosing to allow into your life. And if you are not yet subscribed, subscribe now so you stay connected to these messages as they continue to unfold. Hold on, because what comes next ties relational alignment to destiny in a powerful way. Archangel Michael declares that the people assigned to your next season will recognize you by your peace, not your performance. You do not need to chase connection. Alignment will find you. Jesus also says beware of returning to relationships simply because they are familiar. Familiarity without growth leads to stagnation. If a door closed, trust that God closes it gently but firmly. You may feel moments of loneliness as transitions occur. Do not interpret that as abandonment. Loneliness in transition often means space is being cleared. God fills cleared space intentionally, not randomly. Archangel Michael reassures you that you will not lose anyone meant to walk with you long term. Those who leave were either seasonal or misaligned. Release them with grace. Bless them sincerely. Bitterness would only tether you to what God is removing. As relational clarity increases, confidence will grow quietly. You will feel less need to prove yourself, less need to explain your journey. This confidence is not arrogance. It is security rooted in obedience. Jesus says love will deepen in quality, even if quantity decreases. Fewer connections, stronger bonds. Less noise, more truth. This is not loss. This is refinement. Let this truth settle. Relationships are shifting not because you failed, but because you are aligning. What comes next will speak about destiny acceleration and how obedience compounds faster than you expect when alignment is complete. Beloved child, now we arrive at a moment of acceleration, and it is important that you understand what acceleration truly means in the kingdom. Archangel Michael is making this clear so you do not misinterpret what is about to happen. Acceleration is not chaos. It is not rushing. It is not everything happening at once without order. Kingdom acceleration is when alignment causes movement to happen with less resistance than before. Jesus says many people pray for sudden breakthrough but are not prepared for the responsibility that follows it. That is why heaven accelerates only after alignment is established. What you have walked through so far was not delay, it was calibration. Now that calibration is nearing completion, Archangel Michael reveals that the next season will feel like doors opening in succession rather than isolation. One opportunity leading to another. One conversation allowed to another connection. One act of obedience producing multiple outcomes. This is compound obedience at work. Small yeses stacking into significant movement. You may be surprised by how quickly certain things begin to shift once they start. What took years to prepare may move within months. What felt stuck might suddenly become fluid. Do not panic when momentum increases. Peace is still your anchor. If peace leaves pause, acceleration without peace is not from God. Jesus says the enemy's greatest strategy in accelerated seasons is distraction. When things finally begin to move, he will try to scatter your focus. Multiple options, multiple voices, multiple directions. Discernment will matter more than ever. Just because you can do something does not mean you should. Archangel Michael encourages you to remain grounded in what God originally spoke to you. Acceleration does not change assignment. It reveals it. Do not abandon the core for the sake of excitement. Stay rooted. Fruit comes from roots, not from speed. There will be moments when others suddenly recognize your value. Opportunities that did not exist before will appear. Be careful not to confuse recognition with validation. Jesus says you were already validated before anyone noticed. Let humility guard you as visibility increases. You may also notice resistance diminishing in areas where it once felt constant. This does not mean battles are gone forever. It means authority hath been established. When authority is recognized, conflict changes form. What once attacked openly may now attempt subtly. Stay aware, not fearful. Archangel Michael also reveals that acceleration will require stronger stewardship of time. Wasted time will feel heavier than before. Procrastination will feel uncomfortable. This is not pressure. It is purpose sharpening focus. You are becoming more intentional because what you carry matters more. Jesus says obedience in accelerated seasons must remain relational, not transactional. Do not begin to treat God like a strategy instead of a father. Continue to pray. Continue to listen. Continue to rest. Speed without intimacy leads to burnout. There may be moments when fear whispers that you are moving too fast or not fast enough. Ignore both extremes. Pace yourself according to peace, not comparison. Your journey is not measured against others. It is measured against obedience. Archangel Michael shows that confidence will increase, not through pride, but through repetition. Doing the right thing consistently builds quiet confidence. You will trust yourself more because you trust God more. This is healthy confidence rooted in surrender. Some of you will look back soon and realize that things you begged for in past years are now normal parts of your life. When that happens, do not forget gratitude. Jesus says remembrance protects humility. Remember where you came from. Remember who carried you. Acceleration also brings exposure. Hidden motives will surface faster. Misalignment will become uncomfortable quickly. This is protection. What does not fit will not be able to stay long. Let it go without drama. Archangel Michael declares that your sensitivity to the Spirit is increasing. You will sense when to move and when to wait more clearly. Trust this. You have been trained through experience. You are not guessing anymore. You are discerning. There will be moments when obedience feels costly even as blessings increase. Do not let blessings become your anchor. God is your anchor. Blessings are tools, not trophies. Use them wisely. Jesus says the next season will not require you to strive for momentum. Momentum will follow obedience naturally. Your responsibility is not to push doors open, but to recognize which ones God has already opened. Take a moment to breathe this in. Acceleration is not something to fear. It is something to steward. You are not unprepared. You have been shaped intentionally for what is ahead. Archangel Michael stands as witness that you did not arrive here by accident. Every step mattered. Every delay taught you something. Every battle refined you. What comes next will be the final sealing of this message, where heaven speaks directly about crossing fully and what must be done to carry this alignment into the year ahead without retreat. My beloved child, this is the moment of sealing. What hath been revealed is not meant to remain as information but to become embodiment. Archangel Michael stands now not at a distance, but beside you, because crossing over is not symbolic, it is intentional. You are not drifting into the new year. You are stepping into it with awareness, authority, and alignment. Jesus says many people cross years unconsciously, carrying the same inner posture, the same agreements, the same fears, expecting different outcomes. But you are not doing that. You are crossing with eyes open, and heaven responds differently to conscious obedience. This is why the weight of this message has felt so real. It was never meant to entertain you. It was meant to prepare you. Archangel Michael declares that the greatest danger after revelation is retreat. Not obvious retreat, but subtle compromise. Letting clarity fade. Letting urgency dull. Letting old habits quietly return. This is why sealing matters. What is sealed cannot be stolen easily. Jesus says sealing happens through decision, not emotion, not excitement. Decision. When you decide who you are becoming, heaven aligns to that decision. Hell loses leverage when decision ends. You are not required to feel fearless. You are required to move forward anyway. As you cross fully, there will be moments when the past tries to speak louder than the promise. Memories, regrets, what ifs. Do not argue with them. Simply do not carry them. The future does not require your past to survive. It requires your obedience. Archangel Michael reveals that the new year will test consistency more than intensity. Passion is easy in moments. Faithfulness is proven over time. Do not burn bright and fade quickly. Burn steady. Let rhythm replace rush. Heaven values endurance. Jesus speaks now with tenderness and authority. You are not behind. You are not disqualified. You are not forgotten. What looked like delay was alignment forming. What looked like loss was weight being removed. You are lighter now for a reason. There will be days when the new year feels ordinary. Do not despise those days. Destiny is built in ordinary obedience. Showing up, choosing truth, staying aligned. These are the bricks of legacy. Archangel Michael assures you that protection surrounds your obedience. You are not walking uncovered. You are not stepping into uncertainty alone. Heaven has already gone ahead. Grace will meet you where effort ends. Jesus says peace will be your confirmation going forward. Not ease, not applause. Peace. When peace remains, continue. When peace lifts, pause. This will keep you from unnecessary detours. As this final word lands, take a moment to acknowledge what God has done in you through this message. Something shifted. Something settled. Something aligned. Under that, do not rush away from it. Type "I cross" with faith in the comments if you are stepping into this new year with obedience and trust. Blessing code 1212 is now sealed over your crossing, your consistency, and your calling. And now hear this as a direct continuation of what heaven has spoken. This message exists because obedience made room for it. I am speaking to you personally when I say this. Your support is not about sustaining a platform. It is about sustaining a mission. When you give through Super Thanks, membership, or PayPal, you are placing oil into a lamp that is lighting the way for others who are standing at their own crossroads. The word declares that those who water others will themselves be watered, and I release that promise over you now. This is your moment to respond prophetically, not passively. As you give, I bless your year, your household, and the work of your hands. Obey now while your heart is stirred. The PayPal link and support options are waiting in the description.